Tatyova, Benthic Druid versus Hapatra, Vizier of Poisons. We don't have a good hand. We need to throw it away. And that isn't much better. But I'm going to keep it. Yeah, we have a land on top, so we can at least get into Wayward Swordtooth, and then yeah, we can Tragic Lesson as well to draw a couple of cards off of the Wayward Swordtooth, so that we can just replay the land that we bring back to our hand with the Tragic Lesson. I think that's the plan thus far. Most likely going to see our opponent's commander on turn 2. You typically do. It is a 2/2 for 2 mana. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you can put a -1/-1 counter on a creature. And whenever you put said counter onto a creature, you can create a 1/1 snake creature with Death Touch. And yeah, I think we just want Wayward Swordtooth here. We're not going to be able to block, unfortunately. And they'll be able to put +1/+1 or -1 counters on this thing for days, but we do want to get multiple land drops into play if we can. Our commander is Tatyova, Simic, 5 mana for a 3/3. Whenever a land enters under our control, we gain a life and draw a card. And our opponent goes for Dusk Urchins, which is whenever it attacks or blocks, you put a -1/-1 counter on it. And when it dies, you put you draw a card for each counter that's on it. So hopefully for our opponent, that will be 3 cards for them. We get into another land, which is really good. Why don't we go Tragic Lessons first? Draw into a couple of cards. And then we can discard a card, or we can... well, we can't Crucible of World. I'm actually going to... yeah, it doesn't really matter, does it? There's nothing we can do, so we just go for those then. I'll pass over to our opponent. Good to have Crucible of Worlds with a fetch land in hand. But what we could really do with at the moment is something to block that Hapatra with. So we might be going for an Acidic Slime next turn. This is Overgrown Tomb, isn't it? Yeah, that's Overgrown Tomb. I'm not familiar with all the new artwork yet. Kodama's reach into more lands makes me feel less guilty about going for Acidic Slime next turn. I wasn't doing it to... I wasn't thinking of doing it to get rid of our opponent's land. I was actually thinking of it as a 2/2 Death Toucher. And did they fix green with that? Oh no, they got 2 swamps. They might regret that once they see the... Acidic Slime. And Exploration will do some good stuff for us with Crucible of Worlds out, but I think we want to Acidic Slime and try and slow down this onslaught as it occurs right now. So that will be Tropical Island, and then 3, 4 and 5 mana, Acidic Slime. We'll go after the Overgrown Tomb just in case they have Cabal Coffers. That gets rid of a swamp from them. And then we'll pass over to our opponent, and I think next turn, what do we want to do? I think we want to set up Crucible of Worlds and Exploration. Our opponent, of course, has a tutor, so we're under quite a bit of pressure here. But if we can manage to keep the Wayward Swordtooth alive, we'll be able to Crucible of Worlds and Exploration. That will give us 2 additional land drops, which means we get 3 lands out next turn. Sheoldred. Okay, well in that case, we'll just kill the... or do we want to kill it? They'll just get it back with Sheoldred, won't they? How much damage is it doing to us? That's 2. Yeah, we'll actually just let it through, I think, so that we can sacrifice it to Sheoldred, the acidic slime. We're really wanting a board wipe at this point. We'll go Exploration into Crucible of Worlds. The more lands we can get out, the better. We can go for Avenger of Zendikar next turn, hopefully. And this will unfortunately deal some damage to us doing all this, but we'll get some basics out of our library. And we can, if we manage to stabilise, we can get life back with Tatyova. And this way we can also counter something that our opponent does if we want to. But we're in a precarious position as it stands right now. We have at least ramped a lot there. Wayward Swordtooth can now attack and block. It's only a 3/3 thanks to our opponent's Hapatra. And I think it's Avenger of Zendikar for us next turn. We will get 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 plant tokens, and then we can buff them all up to quite a size. We'll have to sacrifice the Wayward Swordtooth next turn though. Moonlight Bargain. That's card draw, I think. Look at the top cards. Rest in your hand. Yeah, they've just paid 5 mana for that, so I'm assuming they don't have a whole lot else in their hand. They have 4 cards in hand, but it's better than 9. They have 4 mana floating thanks to the Gaia's Cradle. And we will, if they swing in with Sheoldred, we'll just block with the Wayward Swordtooth, seeing as how we have to sacrifice it next turn anyway. And then if they swing in with their Dusk Urchins, which they most likely will, they'll draw 3 cards and kill it. And that will be 2 6 damage, including 2 commander damage to us. So we really want to be getting into... Okay, Deathrite Shaman. We do have a little bit of graveyard interaction, but not enough to panic over a Deathrite Shaman. Phyrexian Tower with the incorrect frame. I really like the new Phyrexian Tower from Ultimate Masters. That's a really nice looking card that we've got now. New Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, as well as Ancient Tomb as well. And the urchins will die. It means they get a new snake and they draw 3 cards. Go up to 5. And we will just block the Sheoldred like we said we would. Luckily we have the City's Blessing now. And we can Avenger of Zendikar, but there's not a whole lot else we can do currently. Unfortunately, haven't been able to keep up with our opponent. Ooh. Now if they get into a Viscera Seer or something like that, that looks like that will be the end of us. Seems like a very interesting deck, but it is pretty fragile to board wipes. Luckily they're against a deck that doesn't have many board wipes, luckily for our opponent. And we'll go 1, 2, 3. And that will get us into Avenger of Zendikar. We can play 3 lands this turn. This will get our opponent a whole heap of life. Well, that's the last thing we're worried about right now. And then we go Island. We might be able to get down Tatyova as well, actually. We want to always yes and yield to that. And no, we can't, because we can't make an additional land drop off of the Wayward Swordtooth anymore. So that's our 2 lands for the turn. We'll leave that and see what our opponent does. I imagine they'll swing in with their snakes. They get their urchins back. And we are just really hoping for a Cyclonic Rift or something like that now. I don't know if we have... What is it called? The Curse of Swine or Curse of the Swine, something like that. That turns things into 2/2 boars. Be nice to get rid of the dusk urchins. No, it'd be good to get rid of a lot of things on our opponent's side, actually. And that is Pestilence, is it? I can't remember the name of that effect. Yeah, remove a -1/-1 counter and put one on each other creature. So that gets our opponent a lot of snake tokens. But it's each other creature. Oh, and that kills us with Blood Artist, doesn't it? Yeah. Well, it's a pretty good showing from Hapatra. I mean, I'd be intrigued to see how they survive a board wipe. They could have Heroic Intervention, stuff like that. But if this is a consistent build with Hapatra, they did mention in the lobby that they don't want to play against counter spells, so clearly this deck struggles against control. But yeah, we can just always yield to that. And then do they have enough triggers with the Blood Artist? That is 3, 6, 8. I think we survive then. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, they can just activate their demon again, of course. So we'll just yield to that and let them do it. They will kill their own Hapatra, but you have to assume that they want to. Yep, there we go. And that kills everything and brings a load of snakes back with Hapatra. And oh, actually, they don't have their Blood Artist in play, do they? Because it only has 1 toughness. So they do have way more snakes though, and that gives them a lot more mana with the Gaia's Cradle. And out comes Hapatra again. Yeah, this is a really interesting build. I had built Hapatra when she first came out and ran a few games with her and didn't really think much of her, but this has been a really interesting game. Like I say, I'd just be worried about board wipes. Like none of this could have happened if we'd gotten into board wipes like Damnation, Toxic Deluge, Wrath of God, things like that. Obviously this deck doesn't run those cards because we're in the wrong colours. And yeah, I'm not sure what our opponent's doing here. I don't know what that was. Soul Snuffers is when it enters, put a -1/-1 counter on each creature. And now they're just getting loads of snakes that they have to put on the stack manually, so we're not going to play this out. We'll concede there and say good game to our opponent. Oh, and there you go. Dude, can you read? I said no counters. Well, at least we lost to a nice, pleasant opponent. That was Hapatra, Vizier of Poisons. Vizier of Poisons? Yes, Vizier of Poisons. That was a pretty interesting deck to play up against, I think. That makes me... yeah, that makes me interested in giving Hapatra another go. I think when I ran her, I didn't have cards like Phyrexian Tower and Gaia's Cradle. But yeah, anyway, yeah, might give that a whirl. You can let me know what you think, and I will see all of you in the next one. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel, and thank you for watching.